Okay, so first off, this is a really great email. Let's go through this email, ladies and gentlemen. You guys want to see it? Boom, baby. How cool is that? How great is that? Great, right? Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to know that you're getting yourself into to have been in the PC gaming space since early 90s. And I have seen it grow and become excellent. But I've also seen all the pitfalls. I'm going to break it down into 3 areas: OS, hardware, and games themselves. Okay, guys. So first thing I want to say is this. This man is an IT professional. He also has a business where he builds PCs for people. This man is a very, very educated as well as informed PC gamer. On top of that, IT specialist. Okay, so this person is actually knows what they're talking about. This isn't just like an enthusiast. This is someone who knows this space. Not only do they know this space, but they know me. Okay, they've been a part of the community. It's Justin Gray, been a part of the community, been a part of this space for a long time. They've gotten to know me. They have gotten to know you guys. They've gotten to know the vernacular. They have gotten to know they know the assignment. All right, so that's that. We're starting with OS and Windows. Okay. I know you're coming from consoles and Mac OS, so I wanted to discuss this. Currently, Windows OS is not good. Okay, so first thing I also want to say is this. He made it clear that he wanted to help me get into PC gaming, but before he helps me down that journey, he first wanted to give me all of the things that I would run into. And I like that a lot. He's first showing me, here are the roadblocks you're going to hit. Okay? He's not saying these are all the reasons why you should, because I've already convinced myself I wanted to. But rather, he goes, let me give you some insight as to what this looks like. Okay, so we're gonna continue down doing this. It's got a lot of ads. It's got a lot of intrusive features, and admittedly, it's probably one of the worst versions of Windows we've had in a long time. They're just now fixing a long-term bug that has been impacting gaming performance on it. It is why we're seeing a massive push in the community to move to Linux. I know you're not a big fan of Xbox. Guess what? Windows is the worst version of Xbox. Is the worst version of Xbox. So I wanted you to understand what you're getting into. If I could run anything else besides Windows, I would. SteamOS is our best hope, but that's still 6 months away. I wanted to manage your expectations and help you understand what you're getting into. If you do not like Xbox, you won't like Windows. If there's any good news, I'm very familiar with Windows. I have support. I have to support it for work, and I use it at home. So I can help you navigate some of its bugs and hopefully help you get an okay experience. Still, it won't be anything like what you're used to coming from Mac OS and PlayStation. I think it's very, very insightful. Guys, I want you guys to, please, let's go. Let's talk about it. If you're in PC gaming, I want to know your thoughts on that. I think that the insightfulness of this is great. I like the fact that he is taking into consideration that I am a macOS user and a lifelong macOS user. And so I'm coming from a OS that is extremely streamlined. It is, some would say it's confusing, people who don't understand macOS. I would say it is so simple. I know how to navigate it. I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. It doesn't allow me to do a lot of things, but the trade-off that exists with it not allowing me to do those things is I have an experience that is consistent. I consistently am able to do the things I want to do, and I rarely, and I mean rarely, run into issues. It is very uncommon for me to run into issues, right? And so that is something that I understand. Also going from a Mac OS and console experience with PlayStation being the console experience where I'm just able to turn it on and go, that is something that I am going to have to take into consideration, right? That is a big shift. And so they get into the hardware, right? The next thing they talk about is the hardware. Unfortunately, ever since, the C19, the quality of computer hardware has gone downhill. I've had to RMA return and repair more computer parts in the last 3 years than I've had to do in the 10 years before that. I bring this up because I know a lot of people will try to talk you into building your own computer. Even though it is fun and cheaper and a fantastic experience, it can go wrong quickly. If just one component fails or starts to fail, it can be a nightmare to replace it. So I wanted to confirm that you're making a good decision by buying a pre-built system, which I'm still on the fence of if that's the direction I want to go, but we're going to continue on. Hopefully the quality assurance department where it's built did their job. And if they didn't, it has a good return policy or warranty. I do think if you ever decide to get a second gaming computer, that's the time to build your own. And again, with my help and the community's, we will make sure that you get a pre-built one that is upgradable, and that way you can get your feet wet without having all the pains of building your first computer. Now, some people would argue that building your first computer is something that is, you got to do. You got to build your first computer. You got to do it. You got to make sure that you're experiencing that thing yourself. I like this. I like this, the thought process behind this return policy, because with Apple specifically, the return policy is very, very good. You can return it whenever you want. You can not whenever within the first amount of days, but they have the Genius Bar, which I worked at, which can do the repairs for you. And it's very, very, very nice. Now that quality has gone down a little bit and it's not quite the Apple Care that it used to be, but still the fact that you can go into an actual store and talk to an individual who has some knowledge, but more has the actual, manuals on hand to look through this stuff is nice. That is nice and comforting, especially when you're dealing with hardware that costs multiple $1,000s. And so that is something I've noticed over these past few years, that just the quality of everything in general has gone down. People have become less accountable for their actions and have decided to just not do good work. And so we're seeing that with Asus. We're seeing that with other companies, which is bad manufacturing in general. And so this is something that I personally, I appreciate. I appreciate the sentiment and the looking out for, if that makes any sense. You said Apple Care. I see what you did there. FYI, that's the name of the Apple warranty for those who did not know. Oh, yes, that is the name of the Apple. Yeah, that's called Apple Care, which I was a part of that process working at the Genius Bar for the many years that I did that. Continuing on. We're going to talk about now games bugs. PC games are not like console games. They are often ports of consoles, and that brings problems. But even when they're made for PC, most of them are released in a buggy, somewhat unplayable state. For example, Cyberpunk 2077 took almost 2 years to get to an excellent state. Other games like Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, and others took at least the first month to reach a stable, playable state because the PC hardware is so diverse and there's such a range of people playing, from costly high-end hardware to basically a potato. The developers of PC games have to account for a lot of factors. And this generates problems and bugs. So generally speaking, I never buy a game at launch. For the most part, I won't even try to play a game, even if it's free through Game Pass, until after the first or second patch. Also related to this, the drivers for your video card, whether it's NVIDIA, AMD, they have to be updated. They have to update their drivers to be compatible with the features of the new game. And again, sometimes depending on how popular the game is, those can be delayed. So a good practice is always to update your video card drivers before trying a new release. Note, if all you're doing is playing titles that are months, if not years old, this shouldn't be a problem for you. But again, I know you're coming from the console space where you're used to putting a disc in, letting the game install, and playing it. And as much as we would love to have that, like to have that experience on PC, unfortunately, for the most part, that is not the case. To be honest, if you were not a YouTuber, and I know you want to get into this space, I would tell you to stick with your Mac and console since they work and have far fewer headaches. I really like this take. Some would consider this a hot take. Some would consider this a very hot take. Someone who works in IT, someone who is a PC gamer, someone who builds gaming PCs as a business, side hustle, someone who is actually well versed in this space, is advising someone like myself, a Mac OS user, PCs would consider that the inferior operating system, and a console gamer, PCs would consider that an inferior experience,